And since he's in office, that's pretty much what he's been doing. He hasn't really changed much at all. You're doing that, right? Like, a lot of people were against Hillary, definitely, because they knew she was going to support Saudi Arabia. She knew what she was going to do. She was going to keep pushing regime change in Syria, depose Assad, fund ISIS, all that stuff. Nobody wanted that. People are sick of that. So Trump was saying he wasn't going to do that. So people had a reason to think Trump might be better, but he's proven that he's just the same. Agreeing to sell all those weapons to Saudi Arabia. Somebody explain to me why is Assad bad but Saudi Arabia good? I would like to understand what the reasoning is behind that. I think, now you might disagree with me on this, but I think Putin is one of the more responsible world leaders right now. I think that he hasn't been trying to push a lot of these agendas that we see being pushed in both their suicidal agendas being pushed by the West, being pushed by the leaders in Germany and France and even in England, even though England has voted to do Brexit. There's still these globalists that are really undermining Europe and undermining Canada, undermining Australia, and they want to undermine the U.S. He has done a few things that seem like he's not a globalist, like, for example, getting out of the Paris Accord. But selling all those weapons to Saudi Arabia, that's just the same as it's always been,
What about selling BLM land to foreign interests?
That would also be a bad,
I always thought Obama made those national monuments for somebody else, but apparently that's a conspiracy theory of Democrats and Republicans, but I don't view it as a conspiracy theory. If the Democrats and Republicans actually are working tandem, hand in hand, then it would make sense for a Democrat to go, oh, we're going to protect the environment, let's put it over here. Let's not let anybody live on it. Let's just sit on it because we're protecting it.
Yeah.
And somebody else comes in and goes, hey, that's worth a lot of money. We're this much in debt. China really wants that. Let's make a deal. The art of the deal. Enter Donald Trump. So there really are legitimate discussions being had right now about the selling off of infrastructure to private interests.
I think there's an overreaction in terms of people are being so skeptical that they are not being skeptical about their ability to have disbelief almost surpasses their irrational form of skepticism. For example, flat Earth, right? People that believe in the Earth is flat have to deny so many things in order to maintain that belief. That's so backwards and obviously not true. Sorry guys who believe in flat Earth, but you guys are
So why do you think so many people have fallen into that trap?
I don't know how many people really have. I think there's a lot of people
more than we are aware of.
People who say that. There's people who go and say that. They post these stupid memes that are based on the most ignorant understanding of physics, and they think that it proves their point. And then when you point out, how it's contradicted itself, they'll post another meme that goes off on a tangent. As an engineer, and I'm familiar with physics and familiar with technology. I'm familiar with navigation. I'm familiar with the seasons. I don't know where they went to school or didn't go to school, but basically the flat Earth belief is based on complete, utter ignorance. I'm sorry, but it's based on complete. You can't even explain day and night properly with the flat Earth.
So let's jump forward. But anyway, like Dallas folks that in the Ron Paul era, right, of 2012, that are legitimately still libertarians.
I don't think. I don't know. I don't think that many Ron Paul people really like Trump that much. I think
the internet seems to show the opposite. But yeah,
there might be some who do, but okay, I know there was some contingents of people that did.
We are in the era of the liberty man and woman being deceived, and them not being aware that they're being deceived, and still thinking that they're supporting liberty people. That's why, or liberty thought, or independent thought.
What's happened is people. Somehow intellectualism has been rejected by a lot of liberty people, and that's not a good thing, because
so they may want freedom, but they may not have the intelligence to realize how they're shooting themselves in the foot sometimes.
Unfortunately, I think that a lot of people who supported Ron Paul, who I was glad that they've supported Ron Paul, they lack a certain intellectual capacity, and because of that, they'll believe almost anything, right? So as long as it fits into a very simplistic worldview of anti-establishment, they'll believe it no matter what it is. So the earth is flat, some people will believe it just because the establishment says the earth is round. Other people will say, every single thing is a conspiracy. Every single event that happens is a false flag. And it just becomes
they're calling certain things false flags that may not have been false flags, and they're calling certain things real supposed Islamic terror attacks that I really question.
Well, I think most of the conspiracy theory regarding false flags is a lot of times it's exceedingly insensitive and irresponsible to deny like somebody's child was murdered if they actually were, and to claim that everything outside of your immediate experience is just fiction because you weren't there to see it is going too far. It's almost like humans are conscious, right? We are conscious. We think that we see the world from our eyes and look out, and we think we're conscious. Well, part of being part of humanity is recognizing other people have a similar experience. They see the world from their point of view, from their eyes. But a psychopath will think, I'm the only person that exists. Everybody else is just a fiction. Everybody else is just a fiction.
I'm noticing there's a rise in YouTubers calling, not so much myself, but others, that person's a shill, that person's a shill. Yeah. And yet, how are they explaining how they're not a shill? They're saying everyone in the independent media is a shill. Yeah. But what are they? Are they saying they're mainstream media? They're obviously independent media too, if they have an independent thought.
So the thing is, whenever you're calling everything else that you see on the news is a false flag because you weren't there to see it yourself, I think it's a form of mental illness, basically.
Would you say that's growing in our society, genuine mental? Because you said you think a lot of shootings that people think are fake are real, just in general, because of the mental illness factor.
Maybe, and also it's not necessarily clinically mental illness, but it's basically a dysfunctional form of thinking where you're basically denying there's any reality at all. When everything that you see is a false flag, then you're denying that you're saying that there is no reality at all. Everything has been constructed in order to deceive me, and none of it's real. And I think it's almost like you're giving too much power to the supposed
How would you advise someone like me? Because you agree with some of my ideas, but I don't like it being labeled conspiracy theory. I'd like it to be seen as spiritual or intellectual on a level. Some stuff that I don't think is theory, that I think is fact. How would someone go about ditching a stereotype and showing people it's not a theory, it's real?
I think if you can focus on evidence, and on
not rhetoric,
and instead of just rhetoric, and also spin, like you could see anything and say, hey, we're going to interpret this in a way that supports XYZ theory, but you have to be able to say, well, how much of that is just storytelling versus, versus objective evidence.